Everybody, this is Don LaGreca from the Michael K. Show. When it comes to talking sports, Bob Walters and Brett Grasso are the authority.
Can't wait.
When it comes to talking sports, they're the authority. It's Bob Walters and Brett Grasso. It's Locked Up Sports, and it starts now.
Bring them out, bring them out, hey. Bring them out, bring them out, yeah. Bring them out, bring them out, hey. Bring them out.
Here we go. Bob Walters from the Brian Gunzel Studios. This is Locked Up Sports. We got a big one for you here today. Rangers 5-1 winners as they extend the win streak to 9 over the Devils last night. The Mets try and deal with the fallout from Senga injury. Steve Cohen talks Pete Alonso contract. And we have Shaun Morash right here for you from WFAN's Evan and Tiki. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked Up Sports inside the Brian Gunzel Studios. As always, I'm by myself today for this part of the show. Brett will join us for the interview in a little bit. But remember, we are powered by the Vouch Store. Locked Up Sports, powered by the Vouch Store. Visit the Vouch Store, vouch.store/LockedUpSports, vouch.store/LockedUpSports. And where else can we start today except for the Rangers as they blow out the Devils last night? It was never really close. 5-1 is the final. It's 9 wins in a row. They are now 38-16-3. They have the most wins in the NHL. They have the most home wins in the NHL. I believe they have the most points in the NHL. Shesterkin seems to have gotten over whatever it was his issues were, where he was, not playing well for a good chunk of this season. And listen, it's all coming up Rangers right now. 9 in a row. They're the hottest team in the NHL. They might be the best team in the NHL. They are the best team in the Eastern Conference. I think they're better than Boston now. And obviously in the Metropolitan Division, it's the Rangers and then everybody else. And Peter Laviolette has just done a brilliant job with this team. The fact that they went through a good chunk of this season with Igor Shesterkin not playing well, and they're still at this level, at this record, with this many points, and at this point in the season, they haven't lost since the All-Star game. The Rangers haven't lost. Coming back from this All-Star break, the Rangers haven't lost a game since the All-Star break, which is now, you're approaching 3 weeks. You got 9 in a row. They played, and they played good teams that they beat in games where they didn't play very well. They had comeback wins. They had blowout wins. They winning every kind of different way that you could possibly win hockey games. The Rangers are doing that during this streak. They had the comeback against the Islanders. They had to grind one out against the Stars. They had to grind one out against the Canadiens earlier in the streak. And then they have blowout wins like they did last night, 5-1 over the Devils in New Jersey. And it's always nice to beat the Devils, right? Especially Ranger fans my age. The Devils are our main rival. The Islanders, but the Islanders really haven't been good for much of my life. It's the Devils. And then in those 90s teams, in the late 90s and the early 2000s when the Devils were winning the Cups, in 94, of course, the unbelievable Eastern Conference final that was just probably the best playoff series in any sport that I've ever seen, where the Rangers get the goal and double overtime, Matteau. And so it's always nice to go into New Jersey. There's always a ton of Ranger fans in the building. There was again last night. It was loud for the Rangers. And they came out. They got 2 goals. In the first period, it was 2-0, and they never looked back. It was 4-0 in mid-second period, and it was 4-0. It was 5-0 before the Devils got a goal. They got a meaningless goal to make it 5-1, and the Rangers now are flying high, 9 wins in a row. Everything's going right. Everything is working out for this team. Peter Laviolette has pushed every button correctly. And like I said, the fact that they are at this level in this part of the season with Igor Shesterkin not playing well for a good most of this season. He's not had a good season. He now seems to be stepping it up, and he seems to be getting back to where he was just a couple years ago when he put the team on his back and he carried them to the Eastern Conference Finals. And listen, at this point now, if you're a Rangers fan, it's Stanley Cup. You're thinking Stanley Cup is what you're thinking. And I know, I hate to say it, and the jinx and everything like that, but that's where we're at with this team. This team is going to be one of the favorites for the Cup going into the playoffs, and it's going to give us a fantastic spring. And The Knicks are playing well. Listen, it could be a good time around here, especially for a Mets fan like myself. With the things already circling the drain for the Mets, and when we're still in February, it's good to have something to look forward to in the spring. And it looks like it's going to be the Rangers, and the Rangers could be the first team to possibly get a I hate to say it. It could be the first team to possibly get a championship in this city since the Yankees in 2009, right? Since A-Rod and that team. The Knicks last night. Now, the other big story again was the Knicks. I told you yesterday that it was a big game for the Knicks last night, and they came out and they played like it, and they beat the Sixers on the road, 110-96. You got 21 from Brunson. You got 18 from Achua, who was just Precious Achua has been a godsend for this team. He has played excellent. You got another 18 from Josh Hart, 16 from DiVincenzo. Listen, it's the Knicks. That was a big win for the Knicks. They get Boston. They have 4 straight home games. So now they got the win on the road. I told you yesterday that this was a big 5-game stretch for the Knicks. They gotta get to the point where they start getting some reinforcements, and hopefully Randall can come back and he plays, because if the Knicks don't have Randall, they're not going to make a deep playoff run. I don't think they're a championship caliber team yet, but they could absolutely have a fun playoff run and make things very interesting and make things very difficult on teams like Milwaukee and the Celtics. And they got the Celtics next at the Garden. That's going to be a hot ticket. The Celtics are the best team in the East, but the Knicks, the Knicks have not been this good in a long time. And Jalen Brunson just every night coming up with big games every night, leading this team. He's putting the team on his back, and he has taken them. And they snapped the 4-game losing streak, which is important. They went in, they had a good first half, but to go into the break and have to sit on a 4-game losing streak for almost a week, it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But they were able to go into Philadelphia last night, beat a good Sixer team, a team that the Knicks are better than now at this point. But give them credit, give Thibodeau credit for getting his guys riled up. They knew it was a big game. They were undermanned, as they have been now for about 2 weeks, and they were able to come away with a big road victory, which now can springboard into 4 straight home games, a little homestand here for the Knicks, and hopefully they could get things going. I mean, if they could ever take 3 or 4 at home, but, it's a home game, go in there and, beat them. Go, beat Boston. You're now at that level where the Knicks can beat anybody on any night. Now, when it comes to a 7-game series, are they going to beat Boston? Are they going to beat Milwaukee? I would say probably not. I would still pick Boston and Milwaukee both in a series over the Knicks, but on any given night, this team could go there and you could get a big night. You're going to get a big night from Brunson. Listen, bro, that's a given at this point. Brunson's going to give you his 25 to 30 points every night. He's going to play good defense. He's going to give you max effort. And when you get in games like Achua had last night, or like DiVincenzo had last night, DiVincenzo played 35 minutes. He goes 16 points. He had 3 assists. And Josh Hart a double-double last night, 12 rebounds, 18 points. He had 3 assists added on to that. And Achua with a double-double with 11 rebounds and 16 points. So the Knicks with a big win last night, and like I said, a good way to get the second half started. And it's not really a second half, right? It's only like 25 games, so it's a sprint to the playoffs, and you don't want to have really losing streaks of 4, 5, 6 games, and this thing could have spiraled out of control for the Knicks. It's still, they're still shorthanded, okay? The Randall thing, you're still waiting on Randall. Hopefully Randall can come back. He doesn't need the surgery. From what he said yesterday, it sounded like he's going to get the surgery at some point, right? That's what it sounds like Randall is saying. Hopefully he could play through it, come back, get strong enough to come back, play through it this season, and then have the surgery in the offseason, and we'll see what they could do. But the Knicks need Randall, because you can't just survive in the playoffs just with Brunson and hoping you get good performances out of people like Achua and Josh Hart and Jericho Sims and people like and Miles McBride. I mean, you can't rely on those players in the playoffs. You need somebody like Julius Randle to complement Brunson. Brunson runs the team. He's the point guard, so everything runs through Brunson. And you got to have somebody like Randle, another I wouldn't call him a superstar. He's kind of a semi-star, Randall, and hopefully you can advance a couple of rounds in the playoffs. And like I said, put that with the Rangers, who are going to be favorites to come out of the Eastern Conference and play for the Stanley Cup Finals. We could have a really big spring around here. As far as the Mets go and things, listen, it feels like the bottom dropped out. I know that everybody's saying don't worry about Senga. It's that the Mets aren't worried about this. Listen, the Mets they got to be worried. They got to be. This is your ace starter, your number one starter with shoulder fatigue and he's got what did they call it? He's got I got it right here. He's got a moderate right posterior capsule strain in his shoulder, in his throwing shoulder. Listen, that's a lot of big words to say shoulder fatigue. They can say shoulder fatigue. The Mets can tell you all day that they're not worried. They're worried. And the fans are even more worried because it just feels like it's just a devastating blow because the Mets were going nowhere without Senga. Let's say he misses. I could see it going to, I was saying before, I could see this thing going to July, right? He's got to ramp it back up now at the end of spring. He's got to get his arm back to strength. If he has any setbacks, you're looking at another 4 weeks. And from past history, Mets fans, we know that this means July. Why? Because we saw it every single year with with Jacob deGrom. And we've seen it with every single year with somebody, big player, big pitcher, key component to this team. And it just happens every single year. And it's just getting old, and I'm sick of it. I mean, it's February, and it feels like the bottom has fallen out of the season. Because I held out hope that the Mets could, the Diamondbacks are what we're looking to. Well, the Diamondbacks made the World Series last year. Why can't we do it this year? Deep down, we know that this team is not a very deep team. They're not a good team. They're an okay team that if everything breaks right, maybe they can make a wild card, right? Because the Braves are head and shoulders the best team in the division. The Phillies are better than the Mets. But if everything were to break right, the Mets could sneak into that wild card, and then you never know, right? Anything could happen in the playoffs. You just got to get into the tournament and see, hopefully, something happens. But now with this, and I know it's February, and I know spring training just got underway, but it just feels like it's not what we needed, especially coming off last year with the Diaz going down and then the whole thing falling apart with the big payroll and everything. And Steve Cohen he came out, he made statements about Alonso. Brett Grasso, everybody, Brett Grasso.
Ready for work.
So, I'm just talking about Alonso. The Mets, Pete Alonso, and Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen said that he wants to sign Alonso.
I saw.
Steve Cohen said he wants to sign Alonso, and I think he's just saying that because he knows that we're all devastated because Senga is terrible.
Well, and he also said he's like, I hope he hits 55 home runs.
55 home runs, yeah. So he's basically saying, I hope he hits the home runs.
Yeah, he's like, so I hope he makes it really hard on me. So it makes it really hard. I mean, whatever.
So spend a couple extra bucks.
Because that's him saying that means we're having a good year this year. And, of course he wants that. No matter what, he wants that. But honestly, that sounded like a man to me that's going to give him his money at some point.
He's going to give him his money. No, I think he's saying that because he knows where all the bottom fell out of the season for us.
Yeah.
Because we knew we had a decent team. That if the Phillies are better, the Braves are better, and if everything broke right, maybe they could slide into that last place spot. But now it's February and things are breaking wrong already. Right?
No, of course. But does this spur him to go and try and negotiate during the season, which Alonso, whether or not he was truthful or not, says that they are. I don't know if that is. Does that mean like now it's like, let's sit down real quick and see if we can, at least see where you're at and where we're at, and
Boris doesn't let his clients not go to free agency. That's what he does. He goes to free agency with everybody. He's like, oh, we're going to free agency because that's where the money is.
I have no doubt that there is no chance at all for Alonso to be signing even if he says, oh, I'm into negotiating. They would never come to a deal.
Doesn't matter.
Do you know what I mean? No, even if it was, you know what I mean? It would just be this may be good for us because then it puts this is your minimum.
I know it's a.
I know, and then if he does have a monster year, you go, oh, if that's what he was worth there, then we're done.
February 23rd, and it feels like the baseball season's over.
Yeah, but maybe that's a good thing. I mean, honestly, I am all for the no expectation Mets.
Yeah, that's what
I love it. I'm not going to get invested in them. I watch every single game as I always do, but I'm not going to start thinking anything until they start really going to games. I'll go to a game. You live right next door, so you're going to pop into random games. But I'm not going to start doing the whole, I can't wait for opening day. Or is there a person excited for opening day? Is there a person out there as a Mets fan that's like, I can't wait to get the season started. It's going to be opening day outside of the fact of, oh, is it on your birthday?
I don't know if it's on right around my birthday.
Then that doesn't. No, you can't say that.
Because in April,
you can't say that. No. You can't be like,
I don't know when opening day.
Oh, it's on my birthday. And it's around my birthday.
It does fall on my birthday sometimes.
No, I get it, but you got to be. Don't say opening day is your birthday, you liar. Like that's fine.
Let's see.
It was close enough though, right? Let's say March 28th. Your birthday's in April.
April 6th.
Yeah. I was like,
no, I'm excited in April.
My birthday's March 12th, so it's around my birthday too.
I'm excited
it's on my
in April
birthday
for the Rangers. The Rangers and the Knicks, maybe.
No, I know it is. No, but that's at least usually the spring is. Oh, okay. We don't have the Knicks or Rangers or Islanders to watch anymore. I mean, they're there, but they're not there. Now they are. No, I'm saying they are now. And so this year, at least for the Mets, like you can go watch the spring, still have the Mets and watch everything, but not be like the Mets is the only thing that matters. That the only thing has a chance.
I know, but it's so long. It's such a long summer.
All sports comes down to, and especially as a Mets fan or a Jets fan or even a Rangers fan, it's like how long are you in it? You know what I mean? Our whole lives haven't been how far are we advancing in the playoffs? If you're a Yankee fan, or if you're like a Bulls fan in the '90s, or it's how far are we gonna make? No. For us, it's like
a Bulls fan in the '90s how long was how many championships?
Yeah, but same difference. It's like there was no how long are we gonna hang on during the season? It was you knew you were going to make it somewhere. For us, it's like, can we make it to the All-Star break of whatever thing and still have a chance? Which is some sick stuff. So, that's not good enough.
So let's get to our interview. Shaun Morash, WFAN. We'll be back with you on the other side.
Hey, this is Sarah Walters, wife of Locked Up Sports host Bob Walters. I love a good cocktail, but I'm certainly no mixologist. And these days, who has the time to go out and get the latest fancy craft cocktails? Luckily, there's a delicious solution that even I can make. It's called Camp Craft Cocktails. All I have to do is add my favorite spirit, put it in the refrigerator, and 3 days later, I have the perfectly infused, flavorful, refreshing cocktail. Camp Craft Cocktails have many varieties and go great with any type of spirit. These cocktails are perfect to serve at parties and make a great gift as well. To get your choice of Camp Craft cocktails delivered right to your door, head on over to our partner Vouch at vouch.store/lockedupsports and pick up some of the individual jars or one of the many bundles available. Camp Craft cocktails are just one of the many great items available at the Locked Up Sports Vouch store, where everything is vouched for by the Locked Up Sports team. I wouldn't trust my husband's pick for the big game, but when it comes to cocktails, he knows what he's talking about. The Vouch website is vouch.store/lockedupsports, or you can click the link to the Vouch store on the show's website, lockedupsports.net. Cheers.
You know him from the Evan and Tiki show every afternoon, 2 p.m. on WFAN. He's also the former producer of the DA show on CBS Sports Radio. Shaun Morash is his name. Shaun, I auditioned for your producer job with Damon.
Well, I mean, it's very sad if you didn't get that job, knowing how little I brought to the table in that spot. So terrible for you.
Yeah, I didn't get it. So I'm still here in my buddy's attic doing the show, talking to you. So, the Ranger. How about the Rangers last night, huh? Devils 9 in a row. Oh, we got a cup chance, right?
This is incredible. This is incredible. I know. I mean, in the moment you say you have a cup chance, everybody comes out of the woodwork on social media. You're going to jinx them, as if that has anything to do with it. But they are legitimate right now. And Shesterkin's coming into his own, and a great beatdown of the Devils last night after the Islander comeback win at the Stadium Series. Got the Flyers coming up this weekend. Perfect time for the Rangers to get hot now that football season's settled. We're still kind of a month away from real baseball. It's been awesome. The Rangers are on some run. You just hope they don't peak too early and they can continue this in the playoffs.
Yeah, but they've had a couple runs like this year. And Shesterkin, whatever was wrong, it looks like they fixed it. And how good has Quick been?
Oh, it's incredible. I think last night, right on MSG, they ran like a trivia question. Last time the Rangers had 2 20-game winners. It happened with Talbot and Lundqvist a few years back. But Quick saved the Rangers so much earlier in the year when what the hell was wrong with Shesterkin. And honestly, I love Igor. He's been great. If he ends up going back into some of those bad deficiencies come playoff time, I feel so comfortable knowing they have a cup champ goalie that they know they could turn to. Like, I have zero loyalty at this point with 30 years since the Stanley Cup that I hope Igor cooks. I hope Igor's the hot goalie that rides them. But, man, if he has a couple bad games where the Rangers go down, 2 games in a series, I have zero issue going to Quick with how good he's been, too.
Yeah, I do, too. And listen, when I was growing up, I was a Richter guy. So when I went to my first game, I remember Van Beesbrook played. And I used to hate Van Beesbrook because he would play in favor of Richter. And I'd be like,
dude, isn't that the worst? Yeah. I had the same kind of deal with a Glenn Healy game in '94. Same kind of deal.
Glenn Healy was the worst because he's an Islander.
Exactly. Yeah, Van Beesbrook's a little bit everything, but you're right. It's kind of it's like going to a baseball game and you realize you're on the shitty fifth pitcher that comes out. Sorry, didn't mean to curse. I guess it don't matter.
Yeah. So are we looking at some Rangers, possibly Knicks title runs this year? Is this really what's happening?
So it's not. So full disclosure, I'm not a Knicks fan, but I got to give them their due. You need them last night what they did in Philly, coming out like this. The only thing holding me back from fully committing to the Knicks, is this Julius Randle situation because. That didn't sound positive the other day. He basically admitted at some point he's going through knee surgery. So as far as I was concerned, at a bare minimum, the Knicks are not getting the Julius Randle that we knew and knew when they were rolling earlier in the year. And to me, that's heartbreaking if you're a Knicks fan because the idea, and who knows when OG Anunoby's coming back, but what they were doing when they acquired Anunoby, and then you consider you're talking about a Doc Rivers coach team, Celtics constantly choke. Like, this is as wide open an East as it could happen. But if you don't have a healthy Julius Randle doing what he does, despite what happened last night, the Knicks will be right there in that 4-5. I don't know how you can trust the team to get to the NBA Finals. Now, it doesn't mean they can't get to a second round, have some fun, maybe something crazy happens, another injury to another team. But, man, I would have been fully on board that this was the spring of '94 if Julius Randle felt like he was going to be a true threat to come back healthy.
What do you think's best for the Knicks if he comes back and gives it a go and say he's not 100%? I mean, they're still going to try and get him his touches and he's going to be involved. Is that the best way or is it to just stick with who they have right now?
No, I mean, look, it's hard for me to say without watching him physically practice or anything like this, but I would think 50%, 40% Julius Randle is better than no percent on this team, and just even the threat, the decoy, all of that. But, I mean, clearly he's going to have to want to do it, and clearly he seems like he's very tough and wants to do it. But in reality, no matter what, this wasn't going to be an easy ride. It never is, right, when your teams are going for a championship. In reality, you needed him healthy. You needed 100% Julius Randle to be able to slay. Think about it. If they're in the 4 or 5 coming out of it, there's a good chance you're going to have to get past both the Bucks and the Celtics.
Oh yeah,
you're going to do that versus a Giannis-based team, and then all the Celtics do. You're going to slay both of those at 100% Julius Randle. It just, no matter how awesome Jalen Brunson's been, that's just very hard for me to envision. Right?
Yeah, you guys are crazy. The Knicks are not winning a championship
I
this
could
year.
see them getting by the Bucks. I don't know about the Celtics.
The Bucks are so good. They fired their coach at 15 games over 500.
No, I agree with you, but I could paint the picture that they could if Randle was healthy, but he's clearly not going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you won a bet. What'd you win? A game of
pickleball.
Of a pickleball, right?
Pickleball.
So
yeah.
And your job gave you one wish. A genie gave you one wish, and you decided to have A-Rod's number retired. Explain that to me, because I would ask for a raise.
Explain that to 2 Mets fans.
I would ask for a raise. Well, full disclosure. I don't think they were going to rip up my contract, and that was going to be the wish for beating Evan in pickleball while we played barefoot.
Right.
So look. We just had this whole discussion about the Knicks and the Rangers, right?
Yeah.
And you guys are Met fans. Is it fair to say that we're all very hungry for championships around here?
Oh, yeah.
Let's start that as a base point, okay? It's been a long freaking time since the 2011 Giants. Think about that. We used to, have championships since 10 all the time. If a team in this town won a singular championship this year, next year, and that's all that team did, and the best player that carried them there won that championship, but you later found out they might have been, they were cheating on, PEDs or whatever it is, and then maybe you lied about it and all this. As a fan, be honest with yourself. Would you turn the other way and say, you know what? I don't care. I got my championship.
Yeah,
100%.
Did you see our no-hitter?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So So that is my point on A-Rod. As the years have passed, okay, I'm closing in on 40 years old. I saw the 90s championships, but 2009 was my only true adult championship from the Yankees. He carried them that year, and I know he had his problems in the postseason before, and then not everything was pretty after. However, to be the best player that carried a team to a championship, one that won't be forgotten, he is punished. Forget all the other stuff, because he was a Yankee after they came off a dynasty, and it's almost looked at as a disappointment that all those years produced one championship, when in reality we're seeing, no, that's pretty normal for guys to only win one championship. And I just think if that happened today, if the A-Rod 2009 Yankees happened this year, and then all that nonsense happened the next couple of years, we would look back and go, absolutely gets his number retired, because he brought a championship to the city. And he's punished because he wasn't a guy that brought multiple championships to the city.
Because they're spoiled. You guys are spoiled. Listen,
no doubt.
I'm glad
but by the way,
that.
Yeah.
By the way, me having A-Rod Day is an acknowledgement that we were spoiled, and it's time to realize that, championships aren't just given every year.
Now, I listened to that whole show, and let me tell you, at the beginning, I'm really not a big A-Rod fan. I don't hate him by any means. I wish he came to the Mets when at any of those points we needed him. But when I look back, let me tell you, my feelings on A-Rod totally changed. When I looked at the stats, how many years he was there with the Yankees, it just didn't feel like he was there that long, and he really was. And all I kept thinking was, if he just came in, only his years as a Yankees were the only years he played in baseball, and he was a farm-raised, bred Yankee, he would be idolized in a way like, and I know they only got that one championship, but he's the only reason they got it. And let me tell you, along the way, it really did change how I thought about it. And I look back now on, the steroid era and everybody else being involved in it. It was part of it, just a likability issue.
Of course it was. And by the way, he wasn't the only one doing it. Like, I hate having the steroid conversation constantly. Clearly, I mean, let's be real. I can't legally say certain people. We know there are people in the Hall of Fame, rivals, all that stuff. And also, cheating is cheating to me. Whether it's PEDs, whether it's sign signal stealing or whatever, we still celebrate the freaking Astros here. I mean, what are we talking about?
Everybody's always
picking and choosing of all.
They always push the limits. That's part of the sport. Part of Belichick is you're going to try and get this. Part of Jim Harbaugh is we're going to go for it. And guess what? When you catch us, we're still going to win the championship. You can take it away from us. Our fans got that happy moment, and that's all that matters.
It's like smoking pot in high school.
I'm glad you just thought Belichick, too. Isn't it so hypocritical? How many times we sit there and, we'll get the alert on Twitter, or you guys listen to the fan or whatever, and there's an NFL player pop 4 games PEDs. We don't even think about it. They return, that's it, we move on. Think about that. That's the NFL. We don't care in football when these guys use PEDs to get the edge. It's almost absurd. It's never even talked about. But yet A-Rod is vilified.
I am hoping Aaron Rodgers is pumping himself full of everything possible right now.
By the way, I don't think there's anything wrong with that as a fan. If a guy is willing to do that, to put stuff in his body, it's not our body. If they're willing to do that because they have a vision of winning a championship, they want to make the most money. Like,
they hear faster.
To me, I don't care how crude or whatever it sounds, class it sounds. I don't care. Go do that. Fine. If you win me a championship, I'm going to love it.
Was the best decision David Wright made in years to turn down the Mets coaching offer to take a T-ball coaching job?
Yeah, I think clearly, and I think he's going to clearly win more games. He won't be worrying about shoulder injuries I've never heard of before. I think that's And by the way, T-ball, not a lot of problems filling out a rotation.
How do you get fatigue on the third day of spring training?
It's insane, and this is something where I'm not even on a Met fans as a Yankee fan. It makes no sense. How does something like this happen to the Mets every spring, every single spring?
Because it's July. To be honest, it's July.
Oh no! And listen, I argued about this with Evan. Evan thinks best case. Look at this; it's a month and all that. Here's the thing. I really do believe this. As important as Alonso is, they're still indoor in this lineup and vice versa. And, we'll see if those young guys can hit. I think Senga was the one guy the Mets could ill afford to lose for any period of time.
Yeah.
I really believe that because the rotation was so thin as it was. He had a great year. You were looking at him after you signed that contract to take the next step up and become an ace. And even if at minimum it was a month. This is a point I tried to drill home on Thursday. Even if it was a month. You had Lindor openly talking about, hey, look at the Diamondbacks from last year, and Met players and fans pointing that. Well, guess what? The Diamondbacks got off to a hot start, hit a lull, ended up getting hot again. Their year was a roller coaster. There's many baseball seasons off. But they needed every single win to get into the postseason.
Yes, they did.
I'm sorry if you miss 5 Senga starts out the gate, and that costs you a win or two. I know it's crazy to think about because baseball's so long. That very well could be the difference over 162 games if you are that close at best, where everybody thought that was an at best Mets situation.
And that will snowball. That will end up costing your bullpen to be that much more taxed and have somebody else step up that would have been in that bullpen, like a McGill. And, you know,
of course, it all adds up. It's a trickle down.
And that's it. And that's when, you know, you need that 2 extra wins. Their win total was right on the edge. They do have a chance to make the playoffs, but if you're right, it's going to be right by 2 games.
Yeah, and Evan knows better. He knows that we're looking at that July. By the time he ramps it back up, he gets soreness. They shut him down again. Forget it.
Why not bring in Bauer?
I think, and I love Evan, man. I'll get to Bauer in a second. Yeah. I think he's been through everything as a Net fan with Durant, and then he had the Aaron Rodgers situation. I think he knows these situations are cooked, and he's just grasping at straws with positives. And I get, there's something to that with a fan. With my teams, I try to do the same, so I get it. But man, that's brutal. Now, why not bring in Bauer? Yeah, look, I'm at the point where he's clearly not going to cost you much. No, I would go the opposite, man. As a Yankee, I'd be willing to bring him in because I'd also look at it this way. Yes, there's still like some lawsuits pending or whatever. You would think if you sign Trevor Bauer, he has to be at his best behavior. And you would also think, based on this, there's desperation. What is the money you're giving him? And if there is one sign of trouble, if something else comes out or anything like that, the cost to release him, thinking you're not going to give him a significant salary, should be minimal. To me, everybody's scared and, cancel culture. I get all that. To me, I think it's an all-reward situation. The risk is very minimal because if something goes wrong, so what? Then you release him. It doesn't cost you much. You're not going to sign him more than 1 year anyway. And if he pitches lights out and, everything shakes out further along the line, where are you going to get a better deal on a pitcher of that caliber?
I think you're right. I really do think he would come in on his best behavior. I think it's the one and only year you would get him on his best behavior.
Yeah, of course.
And I really believe, if he came and did that, he can get that next big contract or something decent because this year is going to be nothing. I think their biggest worry isn't even that. I think it's how is he going to act? How is he going to talk to the media? Is he going to do his typical Bauer antics? Is he going to be on social media every day doing whatever ridiculous thing? And honestly,
that's the New York thing too, right? Like everybody talks about the New York media is so much. Yeah. I got news for you, and I love my friends in the media, the beat reporters, whatever. The New York media has gone completely soft for all the teams here. You're not really getting asked these hard-pressing questions anymore. Times have changed. This isn't 1983. I don't think that playing in the New York media is that big a crucial, you can't bring in a guy in like this. I mean, come on.
Nope.
We're canceling school with 2 inches of slush.
Because everything's everywhere. It's why players don't mind playing in a random city these days because, you realize with social media and everything, you're honestly involved in everything everywhere. It's not really that the small markets are still small. It's never going to be like New York, but they've been amplified a little bit and it's leveled the playing field.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Now you're going to give Soto some load management days off so we have him fresh next year, right?
Yeah, please.
I'll get lost. If you think for a sec, first of all, you guys won't even pay your own guy, Pete Alonso. I'm worried about you taking Juan Soto.
Dumbest thing the Mets have ever done is not lock up Alonso.
And by the way, now would be the time with the fan base all upset. Yeah, look, I'm tired. I can do this. I'm more scared of the Orioles signing Juan Soto than I am the Mets at this point. Yeah. Their new ownership coming in. Look, Juan Soto is going to go to the highest bidder. If the Yankees choose not to be the highest bidder, they're morons. They have the money to outbid the Mets or the Orioles or the Dodgers or whoever else wants to come in. If he's going to play great this year and I don't want to hear it. The Yankees have no excuse not to sign him. That is when you'll get me feeling like a Mets fan next year if that really happens.
You'll never feel like a Met. Don't you can try all you want. You will never feel like a Met fan.
So last week I honored Alex Rodriguez. So I think we're teetering, guys. I think we're teetering.
Listen, it looks like you might be, the deciding factor might have pushed him to end up being, maybe retired by the Yankees. Listen, man, that they're going to look back and say, and I know people have said this, like kind of similar to, when Mike and the Mad Dog got Piazza sent over here. Is that how you feel about it? How are you feeling? That's a pretty big deal.
It never once dawned on me with that. I will say the only time it clicked was when A-Rod himself was on the show and he said, "Hey, let's keep chipping away." You could tell it means something to him to get his number retired. If that did happen, and it wasn't mentioned as a footnote in the post of the Daily News of WFAN, Shaun Morash was first retired, I would be disappointed. However, if it takes 20 years, it's hard for me to sit there and take the fake bows like Mike and Dog would.
But I would say it's probably going to be, listen, ESPN's going down the drain, so Kay's going to be off the air, Sterling's going to be out. You could be master of ceremonies.
Yeah.
listen, you heard my speech. That's all I'll say. You heard my speech.
It wasn't a bad speech.
So speaking of, like, listen, now, kind of making a big name. When are you're going to have your own show? And if you did, who is your dream co-host? And I'm talking in reality. Like, who do you think could possibly even? Is it a sports star? Is it another big name radio guy?
All right. So I'm going to play along, but I want to make this very clear.
Yeah.
I could care less about my name not being on the show. I'm very comfortable being the third host on Evan and Tiki. That being said, you're talking about like a dream vision or like a reality?
Like your show, yeah. It can be a little of both, because I think, your dream could become reality.
Like, it can't be Howard Cosell.
Can't be Howard Cosell. Okay.
You almost put Alex Rodriguez into the Yankee Hall of Fame last week, so,
Yeah, so this is tough because I'm already doing a show with Tiki Barber, who was like one of my idolized players. So if I'm going to separate that, honestly, this is going to sound really corny and quirky. It's probably Tommy Pugal. It probably is.
Really?
And the only reason I say that, a lot of people don't realize this. We were behind the scenes together a long time in 2010. He's a Long Island guy, too. Before this show even launched, Tommy's been one of my best friends for like 15 years.
Nice.
So the idea that I get to work together on the driving afternoon force in New York sports now is kind of crazy, and I know how hungry he wants to climb up the ladder, too. I would love it with two young guys down a lot if me and Tommy work together like that.
I think me and Bob can appreciate that more than anything, because you're talking about two guys who are, grew up together. All we did was just we did this show every day. We just never recorded it for our entire lives.
Right. No, exactly. It's all the bickering you have anyway.
Right. So I can appreciate that. That's a good one.
And you worked for, listen, DA, there's nobody better than DA. He's as good a guy as there is out there.
I would not be where I am today without DA and everything. When I interviewed and became full-time with him, when the show launched on CBS Sports Radio, he saw something besides my producing, allowed me to elevate my on-air career. And no doubt, I mean, what we had was special radio. Like I say, special radio. A lot of people outside of New York, probably never listened, never knew it, but I miss working with him greatly, and I owe so much of what I have in my career to him, clearly.
Yeah, I always knew him from he would fill in like every once in a while on Saturdays on the Fan or something, and I heard him and I was like, this guy's great, and I got in touch with him and he answered emails and everything.
Yeah, so it's a little different than me. That's the one thing I didn't learn from him, was how to answer emails properly.
But anyway, so his name is Shaun Morash. He's on Evan and Tiki show every afternoon, 2 p.m. He's on his way there now. Shaun, thanks for giving us a couple minutes.
Shaun, appreciate it. That was awesome.
Gentlemen, anytime. And I think you've earned getting my phone number now. So
how about that?
Yep.
How about that? Brett
told you, one of my favorite.
Lived up everything Brett just said about
Told you.
All right, so listen, that does it for us. I got to train the kids. Brett's got to get to work.
Yep.
I'm gonna later today. I'll be speaking with Chuck Everson. We're gonna put that out separate episode. Chuck Everson, Villanova 85 team. Thank you to Shaun Morash. Thank you for listening. Remember, we're sponsored by the Vouch Store. Vouch.store/LockedUpSports. If you need it, we got it at the Vouch Store. I made up that tagline, Brett.
That was good. I thought someone put that on you.
We'll talk to you later, everybody. Thanks for watching. See ya.